I'm Lance Bachmann. So what I'm doing today is I'm taking small little companies anywhere between 2 million to 10 million, and I help them scale, grow, and get ready to be sold to bigger private equity firms. So this way they get a big paycheck. There's all these coaches out there. When did coaching become a fucking business? If you're so great, why aren't you building businesses? Why are you coaching? I'm not a coach. People ask me, do you know how much money people have offered me to coach them? And I'm like, nah, man, just come to my place, come check us out, spend a day with me. He goes, I feel this, do I feel this? I said, I listened to for about a minute. And he said, I feel for the fourth time. And I said, listen, let me say this nicely to you. I don't give a fuck how you feel.
All right, welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Phuckit Podcast. I'm your host, Frank McGovern, and very happy and excited to have a buddy of mine on, Lance Bachmann. Actually met Lance about 6 years ago, wholesaling a house of his, and we just have kind of stayed in touch since. He's a local Philadelphia guy, very successful businessman, and has a great story. So, Lance.
Thanks for having me, Frank. It's always great to see you. You're the man. And I actually forgot about that
Yeah.
house. I think it might have been 2 houses I sold you, right? Or
I
just
think
one?
it may have been 2, but I remember the one. It was a hood ass house. I remember that.
It was the squad, or was it?
Yeah.
Remember, I
I had
called
to
you up and
change the
said,
locks
yo,
and shit. Yep.
I said, yo, if you take this today, I'll take 5 grand off it. You remember we had it under the contract? You're like, what? I was like, just take it today. I'm like, this. And I was like, I got to get rid of this headache, dude. Like,
No, I remember. I literally, I can even envision like what the house looked, but it was funny. I remember I personally had to go there a few times, get the locks changed, had to kick a squatter out. The day in
he
the
was
life of a
flipped for
wholesaler.
murder or something. Like, it was a crazy story. Like, the guy in the house,
Yeah. It was
bird
it.
crap everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, too funny. Forgot all about that. It's amazing how many pieces of real estate you go through and you forget about a gem like that.
Yeah. So yeah, just talk a little bit more, Lance, just about kind of how you grew up, just some of your life experiences, what you're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Lance Bachman. What I'm doing today is I own multiple companies. I own a few tech companies still. I sold one SEO. Most people know that, to a private equity firm. Sold a few other companies, not a private equity firm. So what I'm doing today is I'm taking small little companies anywhere between 2 million to 10 million, and I help them scale, grow, and get ready to be sold to bigger private equity firms. So this way they get a big paycheck. I mean, that's what I've been doing, and we've been very successful at it. And we've got very great people, great companies. Um, Grew up in Northeast Philly in Bucks County. Grew up in Deconey, and then I moved to Council Rock. Uh, Very proud of that. Went to that school, graduated there, and then I went to D Temple University for undergrad and grad. And I live out in Fort Washington now. I just bought a farm. I don't know if you've seen it, Frank, on social media. I bought a
Yeah,
farm,
nice.
about 18 acres, and we're redoing the whole thing. So things have been good. Been very lucky. Been very blessed, to be honest with you, Frank.
Nice. Now, how did you get started? I know like One SEO was your baby for a very long time, and you sold that. Like, how did you get started with that company?
Well, truth be told, I started advertising. A gentleman by the name of Jeff Cartwright hired me when I was about 21 years old. I had, and this is how crazy it is, right? I had 3 offers. I had one from Pitney Bowes, and I had one from Xerox Copier, and one from Donnelly Directory. And Pitney Bowes it was Pitney Bowes and Xerox Copiers. They're both their salaries at the time. You got to think about, I'm 50, so this was 30 years ago. Their salaries were like 35, 40,000 plus a company car. At Donnelly Directory was no salary. I think you got $500 a month car allowance that they
Huh.
gave you, which paid for your gas and whatever car you were using. It might have been 600. And I saw all the money that was being made between all 3 companies, and I just saw advertising. I was like, how does anyone not want to be in the phone book and grow their business? Like, it's, for me, it was like the easiest sale, right? You have a business, you probably want to grow your business. If you don't want to grow your business, even when I was 21, I thought, like, what kind of clown would ever say, I don't want more money? What type of person would say, I don't want to grow my business? So I took the phone book job. I was one of the number 1 sales reps in the country my rookie year, and I stayed in advertising for the last 30 years. So that's how I started One SEO, truthfully. Then I left, went to Verizon, helped start superpages.com, and then obviously AT&T knocked on my door to help start yellowpages.com, their outside sales team.
Nice, nice. And how long did you own one SEO for?
14 years,
Nice, nice.
almost 15. Great run. I love it. Sold to a private equity firm. Can't say nothing bad about them. CJ, my CEO, still is in place. Most of my leadership team's still in place there. A lot of the employees are still there. They're growing, they're thriving, they're doing well. Couldn't be happier and proud of them.
And what made you interested in selling?
It was just time, right? I'm 50 years old. I'll be 50 this year. Got young kids. Um, and I always say to everyone, not being rude, like you ride a company till the wheels fall off, you hand it down to your children. Where my oldest son LJ was starting to talk about taking over one SEO. One day I'm going to be a digital lion like you, Dad. One day I'm going to be a digital lion like you, and I'm going to run. And I was like, that's really probably what was my main trigger of. I don't want my kids ever to feel like they have to be me or take over one of my organizations. So that was probably the main reason. And by that time, that was my third exit. I've already sold two companies for 8 figures each, over mid 8 figures for each Windows sales prior. So I didn't have to sell one SEO. I didn't need the money. It was just more personal. And plus, I wanted new ventures. I love what I'm doing now. I feel alive again. I love digital marketing. I hate it being paid for digital marketing, if that makes sense.
I'm assuming you're saying pretty much insinuating that you can make more money flipping the businesses than focusing just on the digital marketing.
Well, you can definitely make more money flipping businesses than focus on digital marketing. That's a fact. No, and I this is where I'll stick up for every agency in the country. It's never the business owner's fault that they're a nitwit. They don't know how to answer their phone
Mm.
right, that they don't book jobs right, that they're not priced correctly, that they don't give a good pledge, that they don't give a 5-star experience. It's always their digital marketing company, no matter what. Like you can sit there and be like, listen, you had 32 leads and not one of them were answered. And it'd be like, so what?
Yeah, yeah, no, trust me. And obviously I'm not don't have a digital marketing agency, but just being in real estate, I've done a ton of direct to seller marketing and I would have sales reps saying like, "Oh, these leads are no good." Like if I can close the leads and you can, it's probably not the leads. So yeah, it's like
And
if you're consistently providing leads, yeah, then it could be a salesperson or the owner that's the problem if they're not closing them.
And so I just have a difference of opinion, right? I have a difference of opinion. Like now, when someone tries to talk about digital marketing, I'd be totally honest with them now because I don't care. I have you don't pay me. Like the weight of the world is off my shoulders.
No, and just you're saying getting started in sales. What made you transition from being more of like a salesperson to wanting to start your own companies?
So I transitioned when I was at Verizon from a salesperson to a sales manager, and I grew, became an area manager, general manager, and I became the vice president of AT&T for the whole country.
Oh
So I
wow.
was trained in leadership and, for a lot of years, truthfully. I was a great salesperson. I loved it. I loved the hustle. I loved the making money. I was making great money. And it was funny. A gentleman sat me down who I don't talk to today for no reason. He just went his way in life, and he was using me to get promoted to get me to go to Philadelphia with him. I was working out in Chadsford. And he said, Lance, you're probably one of the best salespeople I've ever seen. He's like, you're great at it. He's like, but a sales leader and understanding business is really how you're going to make real money. You're going to take a step back. I mean, I was making probably $300,000-$400,000 a year selling advertising.
Hmm.
And I went back my first year as a sales manager. I think I made 105,000. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy what I do. And then I just kept thinking, one day I'm going to own my own business. One day I'm going to be the vice president of one of these companies. I'm going to be someone. So I'm just going to stay the course and pay my due today. And I did. It worked out. I mean, I kept getting promoted. I left, started yellowpages.com. I believed in myself. I believed in my leadership ability. I believed in people would rise to the occasion. I'm a big underdog person. Sometimes you get burnt by these people that you believe in. Sometimes you don't. And we built yellowpages.com. When I left, I think we were doing close to 150 million, $160 million in revenue a year.
Wow, that's definitely impressive.
That's what
One
made me
thing,
start one SEO. I knew I could do it.
yeah, that's like one thing I was going to kind of transition into. A lot of people think that, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to start a business, you got to do it when you're, 20, 25 years old. It sounds like you kind of worked your way up in the corporate setting and then transitioned into being a business owner and an entrepreneur, later, as opposed to early in life.
I didn't start till I was 35, 15 years ago.
No, so to me, definitely listeners like listen to that, right? Like it's like people think that you didn't start the business or make the money that you want by 20, 25, 30 years old. And Lance didn't start his business till 35. He's only 50, 15 years later, and he's exited multiple companies and sold for 8 figures. So it's
Each
never too
one
late.
have sold for 8 figures,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
over
impressive.
mid 8 figures. Guess I do want to say something there, Frank. Like, you don't even know yourself at 25, 24. I look at the guy that I was at 25. I was still working at probably Harbor Lights or Wage or Daydreams. I was working in corporate America. You're living a whole different life. I mean, most people, you don't even really know who you are. And when you're 30, you know, I think you might start knowing who you are a little bit. I started figuring myself out. But really, until I met my wife, probably 13, 14 years ago, I didn't have really much. Like, I was successful, but I wasn't at peace and I wasn't focused, fully focused. I mean, I always say to people, if there's tomorrow and there's a today, be glad because that means you can still go wherever you want to go. It isn't over. Like people get so caught up in the past, and I mean, I don't know why people even talk about it. Like I don't. I refuse to talk about the past. I could give a shit less.
Yeah, yeah. So just talk about more like of that transition from going to, working in the corporate setting to, becoming a business owner. What was the mindset behind it from you going from, 9 to 5ing it or, whatever for till you're 35 to now, starting a business on your own. I'm sure that was kind of like a scary thought.
I never 9 to 5'd it. Anyone in corporate America that was with me would tell you I've always worked 13, 14, 15 hours a day there. They
That,
got
that,
their
that wasn't, that wasn't a jab, my man. That wasn't a jab.
no, 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 no. I know it's not a jab, but I want viewers to understand there is no such thing as nine. Here's a perfect example, right? This guy just left one of my organizations. I didn't want him to leave because he's a pretty good sales guy. And he said to me, I don't want to run the night appointments. And he's starting his own company, right? He's like, I don't want to work the weekends. He's married, right? I said, do you think owning your own company when your phone rings on a Saturday or Christmas Eve, you just don't answer the phone? Do you believe that's how it works in your fucking universe? Like, because it's not. Like, I have multiple companies now. And when my phone rings, I'm gonna have to answer on the spot, but I gotta get back to you. I gotta take care of it. If it's a problem, I gotta jump in. Right. A leader is gonna be solution finding. So I think a lot of people think that owning your own business is just that easy. The transition for me was easy. Um, I knew where I wanted to go. I called my sister Jolynn and I said, let's go build this company. And I said, I don't know what it's gonna be, but we're gonna be able to live happily and we're gonna be able to make money. And, that was it. We were off to the races. And I never looked back. I never once thought about quitting, not doing it. Like, it never even was a thought process to me. Like, even now, like, I have a company that's struggling. One of my companies in my portfolio, HVAC company, I never thought about quitting or shutting it down. Or there's 20 employees there. Like, we'll figure it out. We're going to make it better. Like, that's your job.
Yeah, and to me, like that's spot on. It's I don't think people truly understand one of the biggest reasons people succeed is because they don't quit. Too often in life, people kind of will set out with some unrealistic expectation. They don't get it in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or whatever. And then they think that it's not going to work and they quit. In reality, like you just fucking gave up on yourself and didn't stick in the game long enough?
Well, most people quit for a few reasons. I truly believe that. I don't know how old you are, Frank. I think you're probably 20 years younger than me, probably
40.
15, right? You're
40.
40, so you're
Yeah.
10 years. I can only tell you this what I can see from everyone. It seems like we live in an instant world, like Airbnb, Uber, you name it, everything's instant fucking coffee. Doesn't matter. Everything's instant at your hands, right? Social media has made everyone believe that and this is the thing. But there's all these coaches out there. When did coaching become a fucking business? If you're so great, why aren't you building businesses? Why are you coaching? Right? Like I'm not a coach. People ask me, do you know how much money people have offered me to coach them? And I'm like, nah, man, just come to my place, come check us out, spend a day with me. Whatever you need, if you need the playbook, you want to see sample, whatever you need, I'm going to give you. I don't care, right? Because I have an abundance mindset. I just really believe that if you're going to own a business, the coaching part make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure that you don't quit, because you'd be surprised. Most people quit because of what other people think. My son just lost being president of his class. He ran for it. He's in fifth grade, fourth grade, and he lost. He came home all disappointed. I'm like, why are you disappointed? He's like, well, kids are saying things. I'm like, who gives a fuck, LJ? He's like, well, they're saying things. I'm like, LJ, only two of you out of your whole class had the ball sack to run.
Yep. And
He
you
said,
were
so
one of them.
respect the kid that beat you. And all the clowns that didn't, that because they wanted to. Who doesn't want to be class president in fourth grade, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, of course you. It's like being captain of the team, right? So they didn't have the nerve to even step up. So fuck them.
Yeah, and it's funny to me. I've realized as I've gotten older, for sure, and maybe it doesn't apply with them younger kids or whatever. But when someone's happy, they're good, they're successful. Like they're not fucking talking shit about other people. Like they're trying to uplift people, help them, help them grow. They're not trying to, make someone feel bad or anything like that. Like it's like I think Babe Ruth, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. Like someone is not going to be critical of you, like maybe constructive criticism if they're ahead of you and further along in their journey. But somebody that's not like that, that's who you're going to hear the shit talking from.
A lot of times, the one thing I learned in life is people are jealous. People have a lot of venom for whatever reason. People want you to be successful. It's funny, when I was first starting out 15 years ago, if I told you how many people cheered me on and it was like, go, 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 go. And now that I outkicked everything and everyone, not being disrespectful, like not being rude,
Yeah, being
it's
honest. Yep.
it's what the fuck? He changed. He's an asshole. He's this, he's that. Whoa, you told me to go do this. You were cheering for me. Now, because I built this and I keep building it, and you're still where you're at, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like people want you to do better, just not better than them. And that reminds me of like what Alex Ramosi said. I've heard him on a podcast recently, but like when he started his entrepreneurship journey, like he was sleeping in a gym, and he's like, yeah, everybody wanted me to fucking win. Like when I was like sleeping in the gym, and then fast forward a couple years, and it's like now I'm walking in the gym, and they're like, oh, look at Mister Big Boss Man over here, and it's like I'm the same guy. Like you just wanted me to win. You thought that I was an underdog, and like, but as soon as you start like actually doing what you say you're going to do and having the success, like it's the people change.
Really? I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. And maybe the people being successful change too. Listen, I had a partner that took his company from 1.8 million to $6 million in literally 18 months. And, just text messages to other people talking shit on me the whole time as I'm making this guy hand over fist. I handed him $1 million check. $1 million when I sold one company. Here's $1 million for one company that he didn't even own anything. He just gave input for 10 months, talking shit to everyone the whole time.
Well,
So like, if you're negative and you're just that person, I can't help you. I can't change you.
100% agreed. Like
You know,
it's contagious.
losers focus on winners and winners focus on winning. And
No,
I said all the time to people, I said to my son all the time, losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. And we're fucking winners in this house.
no, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more with that statement. So it sounds like when you made that transition from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur, you had a positive mindset. You were confident, like weren't fearful of the situation, and kind of knew that if you did what you needed to do, you would get what you want. I will
I
say
don't
that.
think everyone's fearful. I think anyone that lies when they're starting out,
Well, I was going to say, like, I would say that
still fearful.
most people don't have that mentality. So I would just ask you, like, what would you, if somebody's, 25, 35 years old, they're trying to kind of want to get started in being an entrepreneur, starting a business, but they're, fearful of doing it. What advice would you give them?
Don't be. What's the worst going to happen? It doesn't work out, right? I'm going to come back do something else. I said I was in a room because I just merged three companies into one. Right, I took three different organizations, made them into one, dilute the stock. It's actually to do a merger is harder than you think. Of companies that have been around for 40 years. One's been around for 60. One was around for 40. The other one's around about 38 years. Right, think about that. I took all these old businesses and made them one organization, right? It's a very daunting, hard task. And I said to the one person, I said, I'd rather fucking die than lose. If I didn't have children, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'd rather die than lose. Like the losing part's not an option, right? So I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm up at 3:30, 4 in the morning. I'll do whatever it takes, you know. And if you don't have that mentality, you shouldn't be in business. And that's the truth. Unless you just want to go, there's some people that own businesses and they're happy making a few $100,000 a year, and that's going to be their life, and they have nothing to sell at the end of it. And that's great. But I'm talking about true business where you're scaling and you might be doing 50 million a year, 100 million a year, and you have something you could sell at the end of it. I think, that's where you need that mindset of, I'm not, because it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard. You're going to go backwards. The P&Ls are going to get messed up. You're going to go into debt at some point in time. You're going to have debt. People are going to quit on you. Some of the closest people around you are going to quit on you. Some of the closest people around you are going to think they can go do it on their own, and they're going to quit and go compete against you. And you just got to stay laser focused and say, I know what the mission is, and nothing's going to deviate it.
Yeah, it's funny. That just reminded me. A good friend of mine had worked for me for 5 years in my wholesaling company, and the last full year he worked for me, he made $97,000, which as a wholesaler, there's most people weren't making that as the owner of the wholesaling company. And he's like, "Oh, I'll go do it on my own." And sure enough, it did not work out well.
I just had a guy go start his own little roofing company, and someone said, "Man, I hope he failed." He lied to me. I said, "Don't ever say that again." He said, "What?" I said, "Don't ever say that to me again." I said, "I hope he makes it. He was trained under us. He's a representation of us. Hope he does the right things. Hope he gives a 5-star pledge. Hope that's another person from my lineage, from
Yeah.
my tree. I don't want anyone to fail. Listen, there's so much business out there. Go get them. If that one person can truly impact your business, Frank, then you didn't have a business. I say it
Yeah.
to everyone all the time.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, and to me, it's just a mindset thing. I have the same type of mindset, where it's, obviously it hurts losing somebody, but I would never ever want to see somebody fail.
No,
As you said, me helping someone or someone being successful in business, never is going to take anything away from me. And you had talked about just, going backwards in terms of business, the ups and downs of it. I think people, will see people from afar and just think it's on a rocket to the sky trajectory, right? Where it's just a steady up movement. In my opinion, it couldn't be further from the truth. There's ups and downs. You get kicked in the nuts. You just, you learn and grow, and it continues to always happen, right? It's not like I've ever reached a point in life or business where it's oh, I got everything figured out, and everything's going to be smooth sailing. So, would you agree with that?
there's not a company I've had that hasn't had hurdles, has gone backwards, that hasn't had doubt at times, that hasn't had some type of financial issue at one point in time. And this is where you need a great team around you. And I'm fortunate. I got a CEO coming back. Bill Rizell been with me for 18 years. Joe Lynn's been with me for 15 years, my CFO. I have a few other key pieces I'm putting around me. And you got to have a great team because you're going to have struggles. You're going to have issues. And, it's funny. When I grew up, I got in a lot of trouble, Frank. I got locked up. I mean, it's, for fighting. I have brothers that OD'd and died. Every Bachmann male was in prison. And when I grew up, I thought it was just me and my family. I was so ashamed. What I mean? I was so ashamed. I thought it was me and my family. Why do my brothers got to be drug addicts? Why do I got to go and go to a group home? Why do I got to go to a foster care system? Why do I have to go to Glen Mills, Hershey Milton School? Why do I get locked up? No one, right? And, then I started realizing when I got older, everyone else has the same problems. They just hide it better. They
Yeah.
have drug addicts and alcoholics in their family. They have, whatever it may be, people that have been locked up. And now that I'm 50, I'm going to be 50. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I was the normal one compared to half you people. You just hit it better. And, that's the same thing goes for business. Every business owner that you see out there just jolly joy, jolly G, jolly Jack, it's full of shit. Listen, am I very fortunate that, I was with Pete's Rocky today, and I just happened to see him, owner of Chicken Pete's, and we're talking, good friend of mine. And he said, you know, you do sleep a little bit better after you cash out once or twice. And it's the truth because the money worry comes off the table, right? And that's a big burden when you're starting a company, right? There's different levels to this. But then the other burdens come on also as you keep going.
Yep.
So, you know, to answer your question directly, what I'd say to everyone, Frank, is listen, it's like social media. Don't believe shit you see until you get underneath the hood.
Yep. Yep. So when you were just talking there, you were saying about like, why was I in a group home? Like, why were my family drug addicts? Why were my family in jail? Like I used to have that same mentality, and then from my perspective, that's kind of like a victim mental mindset. Like when you're kind of thinking like always, why me? Why me? So what allowed you to change that mindset from kind of thinking like, why is all of this happening to me, to kind of get to the different level?
I got tattooed on my arm.
There you
Why
go.
not?
Why not me? Yep.
I saw other people and I started realizing this, you know, probably when I was 19, 20 years old, 20 years old, somewhere in that time frame. I was dating a girl, not dating a girl. I guess I was hanging out with this girl and she called me on Christmas Eve and she said, my dad died. And I knew her dad. And her dad was just like this pretty decent, like they had money and not, you know, buku money, but they lived in Council Rock and they did well, or New Hope, one of the other, single home. I mean, I had to be $500,000-$600,000 single home, 700. And, you know, he died. And I was like, how'd he die? You know, I thought maybe just cancer. She's like, OD'd. I'm like, your dad, your dad. And like just things like that, you just start seeing like, man, everything's not what it appears to be. And so now I never, when I see, when, you know, someone says, oh, there's a happy couple, I'm like, I don't know if they are or not because I don't
Yeah,
know.
you don't know them. Yep.
I don't know what goes on in their house, you know, but my mindset went when I started seeing people with money and I saw that they couldn't communicate like me. They weren't willing to work like me. They weren't willing to do the things I was willing to do. So it was like, why not me? Why my whole life just started becoming, why not me? Why not me? Why couldn't I become the number one sales rep at Verizon? Why couldn't I become the vice president of AT&T? Why couldn't I go start my own digital agency and make it one of the best in the country? Why couldn't I go buy an HVAC company, turn it around, and sell it to private equity? Why couldn't I go buy a roofing company, turn it around, sell it to private equity? And now everyone, I mean, and it's easy. Like, you know, people say this, well, now that you're like, no one's arguing, am I successful or not anymore, right, Frank? It's
Yeah.
just, okay, right, you know, in the business world, right? So it's easy for people bring you deals all day long. But when you're trying to get a deal and you have nothing, it's like chewing the barbed wire off a
Yeah.
fence. Like your mouth hurts every day, right? Like,
Yep.
and you just got to go through the process.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think too often people just just aren't willing to put in the work, and they make excuses, like yourself asking about like, why. I used to think about like why so much shit, and then like why I had my first child when I was 18, and that was a big mindset shift for me where it was like, God damn, like I just kind of had a conversation with myself. It's like, you have a fucking victim mindset, and it's like if you don't change that, like you're literally going to continue to grow up the way that you're gonna have your son grow up no differently than you do.
No
Um,
doubt.
and to me, like once I kind of had that mindset shift, it's not like everything changed in my life, but like my life got significantly better after that mindset shift. And I've continued to have different mindset shifts after the fact. But it's important to ask yourselves the right questions. Instead of saying, oh, why me, why me? Like, why not me? Why can't I get this fucking shit if someone else can get it? And honestly, that
Right.
was my mindset. I would meet people like in Philadelphia real estate, and I'm like, and they would be telling me like what they're doing, and honestly, all just like how you say, like I'm like, if this motherfucker could do it, like there ain't no reason that I can't do it either. All right, we're gonna start on our final four questions that we ask every guest.
No problem.
Um, so the first question, Lance, would be, what book, movie, or experience fundamentally changed your perspective on life and why?
Uh, I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is probably the book that fundamentally changed me. I think there's two types of people in life: people that want to go out and be earners and give back to society and employ people and have that abundance mindset. And then you have someone that says that, you know, I'm not being rude here. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5 or go work for someone, and I'm going to be part of I'm just gonna be part of the hamster wheel. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. And I say it to people all the time. People say, "Why would you call it a hamster wheel?" I said, "Well, there's great people in that hamster wheel. It's not being disrespectful.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's great. It's a great thing to do. If that there's different levels to success, right? Of what you find successful. For me, you know, being a father is first and foremost to me. You know, and so for me, nothing's going to trump me being a father to my children. No amount of business, no amount of money. So if you want to just be an employee for someone and that's what you want to do so you could have your free time, that's okay. That's just not my mindset. I don't think either one's right or wrong. I think it's what you want to do, Frank.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's not cut out to be an entrepreneur. They don't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur. Like, at the end of the day, if you're happy in what you're doing, that's the most important part, right? There's people that are entrepreneurs, have a lot of money, and they're miserable pieces of shit. There's people that have 9 to 5s. They love what they do. They have a great family life. They go on the vacations they want, and they're very happy people. So at the end
Right.
of the day, it's just about what's successful and happy to you as an individual.
Without a doubt.
Which, oddly enough, leads us into next question number 2. How do you define success?
Being a good father. Being a good father, being a good person. I don't think money defines success. I think money is just a scorecard people use to look at people. Um, I think if you're an asshole before money, you'll be an asshole after money. I think you're a good person before money. I think people look at a lot of people that have money as an asshole because that's their justification.
Yep.
Like, right? Like a guy with no money could say, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. But a guy with money that says that, all of a sudden it's a nightmare situation, right?
Yeah, they said it because they have money and they're looking down on
They
me
think
because
they
I
could
don't.
abuse
Yeah.
people, the whole 9 yards. They think they're better than people. So, um, so I think, success in my eyes is what do you define success? For me, defining success is if I can be a great father, right? If I can be a good husband, right? If I can be a great business person to all my partners and I can get them that big check and exit and make them their life changing money happen. For me, that's what I want my legacy to be. I want my sons, when I die, when I'm on my deathbed, hopefully my sons will say, Dad, I know you tried to be the best man that you could be and you loved us. And I hope my wife says, I know you weren't a perfect man, Lance, but I know you loved me. And then I hope all my partners say, know what, man? It did deliver. I might not like how you talk to me all the time. I might not like your approach all the time, but know what? You were a good man and you delivered.
No, that's a good definition of success. Question number 3. If you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
George Washington, and why'd you cross the river that night? What made you have the ball sack to do it?
It's a good fucking question because it would,
It changed it, won the war. I
yeah,
mean, and people don't understand that's probably the biggest piece of American history that people just don't grasp.
yeah,
And for me, how many his people, because at the time, people don't realize in the battle situation, historians don't know, was it 6-6 or was it 6-5 or was it 5-6? Us versus them. So there was no clear winner of the war at that time, right? Like it was kind of like at that moment of anyone could win the war still. And that night it was miserable out, snowstorm, icy, bad conditions. Normally you would never go do something on a Christmas Eve like this. And, for me, I know leaders had to give him pushback or said something. And to me, the ultimate test is this man went and did this act and had everyone follow him and they won. For me, that'd be my question. That's
yeah,
why.
totally changed history. And last but not least, what was a time you had self-limiting beliefs and what did you do to overcome them?
I think you always have them. I think anyone tells you you don't, it's lying. I don't care what guru's out there. I think there's some point, like it's going to be okay now because you have the time, the resources to figure things out and recalibrate your mindset. I think when I was younger, I went through some things with one SEO, like that scarcity mindset of moving out of my up house where I started one SEO. Then we went to this little office in Upper Southampton. And then we went to this Bristol little building. I bought that. And then I went and I got a place for $30,000 a month of rent. Makes sense, and I think, back then, like those jumps, I wasn't like, yeah, let's go. I was like, oh shit, am I
Yeah.
making the right decision? But I've always said, aim small, miss small. And if you want to win big, you got to play big.
Yeah, so to me, that's like it's just important to kind of touch on that. Like, and I 100% agree. Like, negative thoughts, self-limiting beliefs, you don't eliminate them or erase them. It's just a matter of like kind of recognizing that they're going to be there, and you can't, listen to them, right? You gotta move forward and do what you're supposed to do, and not, what I say, like listen to your like little bitch voice because it's in us all.
So I mean, I don't really listen to anyone. I listen, but I don't listen. Like I take people like the best businessmen out there are people that have never been successful. So give you all the advice at the bar and tell you what you should do. And if you go to my DMs on social media, every clown out there is making comments or DMing me, you should do this, you should do this. But yet they're asking me money for their business to grow and be successful, right? So I think, when you and think about this, you'll never meet someone and they don't like you they don't like Frank just because of no reason. You never even met them and they
Yeah.
don't like you. So I really don't listen to people, but I listen if that makes sense. There's a difference, I think. I listen to myself, but I only listen to myself about like, I don't listen like if I'm having a shitty day, I'm still gonna do what I have to do. I don't care about how I feel. Um, but no, I kick those thoughts out of my mind relatively quick. I mean, I'll take a 10, 15-minute power nap, spring back, and come right back to life.
Yeah, I like what you said, like right there at the end, it's like, regardless of how you're feeling, you still do what you got to do, right? Like, I think too often in life, and shit, I'll be 100% honest, like, I would do this too often in life where it's like, something bad would happen, whatever. Oh, I don't feel like doing it. And it's like you give yourself an out and an excuse. And it's like, you just are never, ever going to kind of reach what you're capable of if you're always only like when you're not feeling good, you don't keep your commitments.
So I'll give you an example. I was down at a roofing conference probably like 6 weeks ago, and I said to this guy that works for me, I said, "Listen, I need you to do this, this, and this." I said, "This young kid just did this real fast, easily. It looks great." This guy was with me for about a year. He goes, "I feel this. Do I feel this?" I said, "I listened to it for about a minute." And he said, "I feel for the fourth time." And I said, "Listen, let me say this nicely to you. I don't give a fuck how you feel. And let me tell you why. Because I don't care how I feel, right? I still get up and do what I'm supposed to do. I pay you. I make sure I do the right things. I make sure that when I don't feel well, I still go into the office. My feelings have never come into play in probably the last 10, 15 years of my life, right? When it comes to business. So, really, frankly, I don't give a fuck how you feel. I asked you to do something and produce something for me in this way. I expect it done. And if you don't want to do it, you can leave.
Yeah, no, that's how you got to be.
And tell me, and I said to him nicely, if I don't care about my own feelings, why should I care about yours? And if he came back the next day, I give him credit. He goes, "You really put it in perspective for me, Lance." He goes, "You'll never hear me say I feel again."
It was a good lesson learned then for him.
Well, I mean, think about that. If you ask someone to do something, they say, "I feel this." Well, why do I give a fuck how you feel?
Yeah,
I'm not
do
asking
do
you
do
to
what you got
jump
to
off
do.
a cliff. I'm asking you to produce a video, an email, do something on a website, whatever it may be. I'm not asking you to go, you know,
Cure cancer or something.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all we have for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Lance, great information, great share. Greatly appreciate the time. Let everyone know if they want to get in contact with you, where they can reach you at.
You just email me at lance@lbcap.com, lance@lbcap.com, or text my cell phone, 215-796-4393, 215-796-4393.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thanks
one.
for